Good morning and welcome to this week's Ask Me Anything. My name is Amber Hug and I am the National Education Manager for Schwarzkopf Professional. I'm located out here in Culver City, California at our corporate office. We are in our brand room and we're so excited today to answer all of your questions. So before we even get started, go ahead and type into the chat box. Let me know where you're joining from. I would love to see who's here, who's coming from where, and I would love for you to start thinking about what questions do you have? Do you have any burning questions that you can ask me that I can go ahead and answer for you right here on this channel today? So if you're watching, think of those questions, start typing them into the chat box. And remember, if I can't answer your questions, go to skpedu.com and go ahead and set up your one-on-one appointment with an Ask Expert. And don't forget to check out our foiled cashmere on our e-academy, skpeducation.com. So I see we've got some people here. We've got somebody from South Texas. We've got Phoenix, Arizona, some people from California. We've got people from all over. So let's see what questions we've got for you here. The first question I see here is actually in line with what I just talked about. This first question is, I need online classes. Could you please send me some information? So here's what I will tell you. You can find all of our online classes at skpeducation.com. skpeducation.com. Register as a user, and on there, if you look for courses, it's going to show you all of our free virtual education that we have that happens on a Monday, typically the second Monday of every month. So those are the free virtual classes. Then we also have technique-based classes that you can find. So skpeducation.com, and you can get certified in foiled cashmere. So if you want to learn that technique that was done for the movie or for the show, The Love Story, to create that Carolyn Bessette look, you can check that out on our e-academy as well. So the next question that we have here, how to turn black hair to dark blonde. This is an excellent question because we've all been in this scenario before, whether that black hair is something somebody's been box coloring their hair at home, or maybe they just naturally have black hair. But the first step, especially if that color is box color, is to start with a color remover. So Schwarzkopf Professional has a color remover. I unfortunately can't show you what it looks like here, but it's a white box with black letters. It's got two sachets, sachet A and sachet B. Sachet A is like a powder. Sachet B is almost like a conditioner, and you mix it with either your 10 volume IGORA Rail developer for up to 3 levels of lift, or if you're just looking for that slight shift, you can mix it then with your Vibrance. With the Vibrance, you'd want to use the 6 volume, not the gel, the 6 volume lotion, because the consistency is going to be better. The benefit of our color remover, A, it doesn't stink. A lot of color removers have a bad scent to them. Ours smells floral and it's beautiful. And then the other part is it removes direct and indirect dyes. What that means for you is that you don't have to worry about your color reverting back to a darker shade when you put color over top of after you've used the color remover. Now you only have to process that color remover for 20 minutes. So it's sachet A, sachet B, they're 30 grams each. So it's 60 grams of either 6 volume lotion and Vibrance for up to 1 or 2 levels of lift, or your 10 volume IGORA Rail developer, starting in your darkest areas and working into the lightest for up to 20 minutes, and then moving on, rinsing it out and putting it on your final formula. So start with that first. That's going to go ahead and remove you from black and take you lighter. Once you're there, you can determine if you can go ahead and use a color over top of it, or if you need to do highlights. So hopefully that answered that question. If you have a specific client that you're asking about, you're always welcome to schedule that one-on-one appointment with an Ask Expert at skpedu.com. So I am seeing here we have a couple little other questions here. So my next question is, how can you cover thick hair with level 7 root touch-up? So level 7 thick hair can be a little bit harder to color. So there are 2 options. Now, you said root touch-up, so I'm hoping you're talking about actual gray coverage, not just like in between your color. We don't have any sort of powder or anything to put on your roots in between color. There are brands that have that. We even with Schwarzkopf over the counter have a root spray that you can use to cover in between. But for that really stubborn gray hair, your best options, I actually have both of them here. If you're using Agora Real, that coarse resistant gray hair for coverage at a level 7, add in a -00 to your formula. That -00 is natural extra. There is 25% more pigment weight in this tube of color than there is in the rest of the line. Therefore, if you add this into your formula, it's going to help you to get that coverage on that coarse resistant white hair. Now, your other option, we have our absolutes in our Agora Real. Absolutes are pre-blended fashion shades in your chocolates, your golds, your coppers, your reds. There's also even some natural shades. Now, what I love about our absolutes is they absolutely cover gray hair because they have 30% more pigment weight than the regular Agora Real. The other benefit for that mature hair, coarse hair can be not as soft as it used to be. There are styliamines in this color that are going to smooth that hair cuticle. Also, that coarse hair might be brittle on the ends. There's collagen in this color that's going to help to fill in those brittle ends. So find whatever level 7 you want to use in this line. There's even a 7-10, which is my absolute favorite because it's going to be that Cendre first and then a natural. So it gives you that nice neutral level 7 for 100% gray coverage, even on that coarse resistant white hair. So try either the -00 in the regular core range or something in our absolutes range, and that will give you a better level 7 touch up. So I hope that answered that question. Again, if not, skpedu.com, book your one-on-one appointment. Next question. I want to learn more about 10-19 high lift is what I'm assuming. It says highlight, but I'm assuming high lift. I have, but I'm scared to use it as a beginner stylist and only going on your second year. Well, congratulations to you. I'm so happy that you chose this route. This is such a fun career, and I'm excited that you're at the beginning. I remember being a baby myself, and sometimes it's hard to know how to use something. So 10-19 exists in our high lift series. Our high lifts are going to get you up to 4 levels of lift and tone in one step, but only on virgin hair. Now, that's the 10 series. Our 12 series in the high lifts can actually give you up to 5 levels of lift. So looking at our swatches here, you're talking about using 10-19 as a highlight. Now, if your client has virgin hair, that 10-19 is actually going to be quite perfect for you because it's got that cendre first and then that violet. So it gives you a blue violet and then also like a little bit of that extra violet to really tone out the yellow that you're seeing in that hair. So it's going to give you up to 4 levels of lift and tone. So you would take this 10-19, mix it equal parts with 30 or 40 volume developer. Now here's the key. These are meant to be put on a level 7 or above. So the level 10 high lift, level 7 or above. If your client is a level 6, I'd recommend that you switch to the 12 series. In the 12 series, you're going to get that 1 extra level of lift to help you really, truly achieve that really light blonde. I'll tell you a quick little story. I did a class for high lifts in Colorado when I first started my career. We had a model that came in level 7 blonde, had previous highlights, but other than that, nothing in her hair. We decided we didn't want to lift her hair with lightener and then tone. So I did use the 12 series. We did 12-1 as one of the shades and then 12-0 as the other shade. And we just alternated our foils. And I will tell you, everybody thought we did a bleach and tone on her highlights. It was so good. We have these little blue pigment matrices in our high lifts that help keep that color cool. So I think a lot of times people are scared of high lifts because they can go warm. If you're on a level 6 or above, you can get a really clear end result. Little hot tip, look at your client's features to know if they're going to lift well. If your client has lighter eyes like me, if your client has a lighter skin tone like me and a finer hair texture like myself, you might be able to achieve a really pretty blonde with a 10 series. Little tip, my blonde on my front is a 10 series. I actually use 10-4, which is our beige, and my hair lifts so quickly that I actually mix it with a 9-7, a level 9 copper, believe it or not, just to keep a little bit of warmth in that money piece. So if you haven't yet, again, 1-to-1 mixing ratio with that level 10. If your client is under a level 6, I recommend bumping up into the 12 series, but the 12 series is mixed 1-to-2, 1 part color to 2 parts developer. They all have our bonding technology inside, so it's going to protect the blondes as you're lifting. I love using that instead of lightener, and my clients love the results of their hair also. So next question that we have here. Hi, my 100% gray coverage client wants some highlights. Ooh, this is a good one. We all have these. Should I do the base first, then the highlights, or how you tackle this? Also, she wants a cooler but beige blonde, and she's a 7-1. I will tell you, in my career, I have done both options. I think choosing whether to do the base beforehand or not will depend on two different things. A, does that client want to see the highlights all the way to her roots, or does she want more of a lived-in look? Two, how much regrowth does that client have? If they need 100% gray coverage and they have like 2 to 4 inches of regrowth, you have to do the base color first. You just have to. Otherwise, you're going to be trying to pull lightener through color, and then it's not going to lift as much in that area. And based on what you're saying, you want a cooler result. But if your client goes every 3 weeks to get color, or 4 weeks, and they only have that tiny little bit, if you can be really gentle with applying that base color on the 100% gray coverage and not bringing it out over top of the mid area, and she wants a lived-in look, you could apply that base color first. It has to sit for 30 to 45 minutes anyways. So then while that base color is on, go ahead and apply your foils in between. But just remember, if you overlap into the area where there's color, while the strongest man wins, that strongest man being lightener, it may not lift as much in that little area as it does in the rest, which could leave it slightly warmer. So if you're planning on a bit of maybe a shadow root and they want more of a lived-in look, that's perfect. But if they want their highlights all the way to the root, I always recommend base color first. So I think you can do either. I've done either throughout my career. A lot of times I'm the stylist that's like, let me just get this done, and I don't have time to do a base color then highlights. So if I can make it happen to where I put the base color on first and then highlights, I try to, but it can't happen in every scenario. So if you have a particular client that you want to talk about, don't forget skpedu.com. You can book a one-on-one appointment with one of our amazing Ask Experts, and they can answer that for you. So next question comes from Jasmine. Jasmine, how can I find a cheaper distributor than Cosmoprof in Ohio? And I'm also sad about the discontinuation of IGORA Vibrance 4-99 and some others. What colors to make the best 4-99? Okay, so two-part question. Let's start with distributor. So in Ohio, you have two distributors. You have Cosmoprof and Monaco Blue. What I will tell you is we typically are the same price across the board with distributors. So for me, it's more about who do you have a relationship with. So choose based upon who's going to give you the best service and choose that distributor as it might be the best fit for you. But price point wise, we try to keep things the same. My recommendation to you is I know for a fact Cosmoprof has 10% off Mondays. So if you can just buy as much as you can on that 10% off day, try to do that. If you have a sales rep, that sales rep actually gets that 10% sale even before the Monday that the store gets it. So just look out. I'm sure every distributor has their own deals. Some distributors might let you attribute points to go towards education. So check out each distributor and what they have to offer, and you can make your decision accordingly. But unfortunately, you're not going to get just a better price by switching distributors unless you shop the sales. And we always have deals every month, so be on the lookout for those deals. Get the little books from the stores so you know what deals we have coming up. The next question is, when we discontinue things, I know it happens, but what happens is you probably didn't use enough of the 4-99, unfortunately. And I get that 4-99 is a tough one because 4-99, for those of you that don't know, is a level 4 violet extra. Now, one little tip or trick I'll tell you about our violets is, if you think about how violet is made, I'm just going to show these swatches here. This is our violets. This is in IGORA Real. If you notice this top violet color, and it might be hard to see here, but I can see it, though this top color almost looks more like a red violet, whereas this color here on the bottom looks a little bit like a blue violet. So the reason for that, if we think about color, if you're a painter or an artist, if you take red and blue equal parts and mix them, it creates a violet, like a deep violet color. It's closer to this 4-99 because there's more blue. How do you get lighter? Typically, we'll add a little bit more red, which is why the level 6 has more of that warmer tone to it, more of that wine red versus that plum red. So if you want more of a plum red and you're using Vibrance and you're like, all I have is 6-99, your options are going to be add in blue. Blue is already going to absorb light, so it's automatically going to make your level 6-99 deeper. You could also add 0-99 into that, but our blue is 0-22, which apparently that boosters one is not here, so let's find it over here. So we have 0-22, which is actually a neutralizer. 0-22 is our blue. It's our blue booster that's meant to neutralize out unwanted warmth, but with this blue, you can add it into your violet, and that's going to help to give you more of that plum color and also deepen the shade. If you want a little bit more actual violet to it, we have 0-99. So you could add 0-99 into the formula as well. So I would try both options for this 0-99 so you can see which results are best. I always recommend swatches. You will see me have swatches all the time. I get this swatch ring on Amazon. It's super easy. It's real hair. So take swatches, use 6-99, mix it with different amounts of your 0-22 booster and 0-99 or both till you find that shade that's going to be perfect for you. I know it's a little bit of work, but unfortunately we just don't have that in Vibrance. So the other thing you can do when there's something that goes missing that you're like, I loved this shade, call our support line. Our support line wants to hear this information, and they're always constantly trying to figure out what we want, what we don't want. So if it's something you feel like you'll buy, let our support line know. And if enough people say, hey, we missed this shade, sometimes they bring it back. So let us know, and we will definitely look into if we can. So thank you, Jasmine. Appreciate that. So our next question is there a recommendation on products to add to lightener for hair health, etc.? Like, example, bond repair. So I'm going to go ahead and let you know, just in case you've never used Schwarzkopf before, all of our lighteners have this little hexagon on the front of them. It's very little on here, but you can see it right next to here. And even on our lighteners over here, that's not a white one here, but you can see we have this little hexagon and it says fiber bond technology. So we have a bonding technology that already exists in all of our lighteners. Because we have that bonding technology, we don't recommend mixing any other repair product into our lightener because we don't test it that way. So you don't know how it's going to work. The other thing to bear in mind is our developers do contain an oil. A lot of your bonding treatments that you add to lighteners are already an oil. And a fun fact about oils is they like to not work together very well. So if you choose to use something in your lightener, just know that you may not get the same results. It may not lift as well, or maybe it will lift uneven due to its different areas. You do not need to add any outside bond repair. And that's because we have what we call a sesaic acid. The sesaic acid creates this protective barrier around each and every bond. I think of it like a net around a Christmas tree. At Christmas, you get that Christmas tree. They protect it with the net so you can take it home. Think of that sesaic acid being a protective net that they put around each and every bond to help protect the hair while lifting. So we've already added that for you. You don't have to add it. So we don't recommend adding any in. We don't have any to add in because it's already in our lightener. So I hope that answers that question. Again, you can always set up your one-on-one appointment with an Ask Expert at skpedu.com. So our next question here, lots of new products and we don't know how to use. Well, there are lots of new products. What I will say, we once a month do free education online. During that education, we always talk about the new products. And you'll also notice if you follow us on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, you already know this. But anytime we have something new, we create online assets that help to give you information. And last but not least, our e-academy, skpeducation.com. You can go on our e-academy. Anything we have that's new, there's little bite-sized bits of education. You go into courses and you can look up courses that are online courses. You can look up, we're doing that foiled cashmere. That's a free online course. It's 3-part course where you get certified in the 4x4 foiling, you get certified in the bespoke layered toning and in the 90s blowout. And guess what? We have hands-on classes happening all over the US that are going to be featuring the foiled cashmere, and we have tons of them, so they're all listed on there as well. So if you're learning about new products, check out our YouTube channel, check out our skpeducation.com e-academy, and come to our virtual classes that are free once a month. You'll find out about all of the new stuff there. So I'm sorry that you feel as though you haven't known how to use it, but just you have to know where to go. So hopefully skpeducation.com is your one-stop shop, and you can find it all there. So next question we have here. How should 7-48 in Vibrance be used? I actually love this question because I feel like a lot of people don't even know about 7-48. 7-48 is a unique shade. It's a level 7. And for those of you that don't know the numbers, it is a beige red. It is this shade right here. I call it this, what I like to think of it as a rosé, like a little bit of that rose gold, if you will, but at a level 7. So I use this a couple of different ways. I've used it in a formula. I've used it on its own, to be honest. It gives you almost this dusty rose color. It's so beautiful on its own at a level 7. It gives you this hint of this slight little pinkiness. It's just a really gorgeous color. But I also like to mix it in with a toner. So in our toners, we actually have a 9.5-98. This is going to be kind of that bubblegum pink here. And this color right here, mixed with the 7-48, will give you a little bit more of that pinkiness. It'll help dilute that shade and give you a little bit of that pinkiness so you get this really beautiful rose gold. Now, sometimes I'll even get creative and add in this apricot color here, which is the 9.5-47, and it gives this beautiful peachiness. So it depends on whether you want to lean into the beige or lean into the red. You can really take this color and you can add in some additional red or additional beige. You can make it lighter. You can make it softer. So this color right here, I feel people don't know enough about it, but it is gorgeous on its own. It's this beautiful rosé champagne at a level 7. So hopefully you try it. If you do, you can always tag us, Schwarzkopf USA, or myself, Amber Hug, on Instagram. I would love to see the results on where you use it. So next question we have here is, for 100% white hair, should I use 20 volume with IGORA Real Absolutes? Also, could you please show me the Absolute 7-10 swatch? Yes, I can. 7-10 might be one of my favorite swatches, so thank you for that question. So 7-10, we're going to hold this up so you can see. It is that cendre first and then natural. So it's pre-blended to give you that beautiful, just natural level 7. I will tell you, with our Absolutes, there is 30% more pigment weight than there is in a regular tube of IGORA Real. The reason I say that is because the rules for the Absolutes for developer depends on how much gray hair you have. So if your client is 90 to 100% white, 20 volume is what we recommend. So if your client's 100% white, definitely 20 volume. If your client is under 90% white, you're going to use 30 volume. That might sound like, why would I do that? Because I don't know, when I went to beauty school, it was like, if I wanted to get better gray coverage, I might up the developer, was what we were taught. So it might sound backwards, but I'm going to explain the why. These are the IGORA Absolutes. There's 30% more pigment weight. There's more pigments. And what I want you to think about is these pigments are like flat balloons before they're blown up by developer. A flat balloon, when it's flat, it's really deep and rich in color. As you start to blow it up, it becomes more sheer. So if I blow it up to 20 volume, that's a perfect amount for 100% white. It's going to give me exactly a level 7. It's exactly what it's supposed to be. But if I take that same balloon and put it on hair that already has pigment, that balloon could look slightly deeper. So I blow it up to 30 volume so that I get that gray coverage, but also the color is the level it's supposed to be. Now, what if I accidentally use 20 volume with Absolutes? Oh no, what do I do now? I'm letting you know I've used 20 volume. And if I use 20 volume, and as long as they are 50% or more white, I've gotten great results with the Absolutes. Because a lot of them are already warmer, I find it doesn't tend to go a lot deeper. Now the -00, I find does for sure go about almost to your eye, a half to a full level deeper if I use it by itself with only 20 volume on hair that's under 90% white. But with the absolutes, it's not going to be the end of the world. You could use 20 volume, but 20 volume is what we recommend for 90 to 100% white. 30 volume if you're under 90% white. So I hope that answered that question, and hopefully you now feel very confident in using our IGORA absolutes. So next question we have here, what color is better to cover orange color? Okay, so what I'm getting from this question is, so my hair has a nice kind of orange color. So if I wanted to cover this up, I no longer want to see it. I still use Vibrance because I always want to use the most gentle option. So I'm going to use Vibrance. In Vibrance, I'm going to take a color circle, which actually we have a brand new one. I'm so excited about this. So I like to use this color circle as my tool. So on this color circle, you'll see over here, we have a other side. So over here, we have the orange, right? So if I've got orange and I'm trying to cover orange, I can actually go across the color circle and find something that's actually going to counteract that color on the other side of the wheel. What you're going to notice on here is there's a 1 through 10. Level 1 being the center of the circle and level 10 being the top. So with that, each ring represents what level you're at. So if I'm seeing like I'm probably about a level 7, level 8. So if I come here down here to a level 7 and I'm like a gold copper, I'm sit right here on the color circle. If I want to get rid of that, I can come across, find that same ring on the color circle, find on the outer edge what that dash number after the dash is, which could be like a 7-21. A 21 is a blue first. Blue is going to counteract orange. So your color circle doesn't just work when you're doing painting. It works for hair color too. So if you're trying to cover orange, you've got some different options, but you need to have a blue in it. So it's all going to depend on what color orange you are. If you're at a level 7, we do have a 7-1 or 2-1 that you can use, which is going to be a very intense blue. But because it's so intense, it actually ends up looking a little bit deeper than a level 7. So I would add this into your formula with a 7-1. So the 7-1 is a cendre on its own. It's a blue violet. So mixing those two together. And if you want to cover up that orange, I always recommend using 13 volume in your IGORA Vibrance Activator Lotion. That 13 volume is going to give you the most opaque coverage. But the biggest thing that you need to get rid of orange is some sort of blue or ash. In our brand, it is called ash. So make sure you look for whatever level you're at and see if it has a -2 or an ash in it. Now, I know we've got other questions, but real quick, I want you to notice something on this sheet here. So over here, we've got actually not just numbers anymore. We've got letters. We're going to be filming something about that later. You're going to find out a lot of information. But if you're somebody who's used to letters, guess what? We've got an alphanumeric system coming, and we can't wait to tell you more about it. So be on the lookout for that. Some of your tubes of colors. Don't worry if you're a Schwarzkopf user. The big numbers are still going to be here. The letters will be small underneath. So you're still going to be able to find what you need. If you're so used to that number system, it's still going to be big and bold on the box and just small in the alphanumeric. So be on the lookout for that. And don't forget, if I didn't answer your question, skpedu.com. Book your one-on-one appointment with our amazing Ask Expert team. Next question, proper way to do ash blonde on light brown hair. Now, ash blonde means that I would need to lift that hair first. So when we're talking about light brown, typically, if we're looking at true levels, we call light brown. You're not really light brown until you're at a level 5. If you're at a level 5, typically you want to use some sort of lightener to get you up to that lighter shade. That's the only way you're going to get there. If you use a high lift color, you're only going to get them to probably a warm level 8, maybe level 9. You'll want to use lightener. So the first step is pre-lightening that hair with a lightener. Now, if they're a level 6 or above, I can definitely use my highlights. And if I'm just looking to highlight the hair, we do also have our fashion lights. Our fashion lights give you up to 5 levels of lift and tone in one step, even on previously colored hair. However, we only have L-00, which is your natural, or L-44, which is your beige, and you're talking about something cool. So I feel like the way to do ash blonde on light brown hair is to first lighten either with highlights or all over lighten with either your Agora Vario Blonde if they are light brown, or you can move into your Blonde Me 9 Plus. But to be honest, I think you can get there with Vario Blonde. And then you'll want to use a selection of toners. We have a lot of different options. We have toners in 2 different ranges. So in Vibrance, if you're looking for something cooler, we have a -1. We also have a -1. So -1 is going to be our Cendre or our blue violet is what this color is. And I know I have other swatches for other colors that we just came out with, but for right now, the 10-1 is one. My absolute favorite for a really cool ashy blonde is the -1-2. It's a Cendre first, and then it's got that ash. It gives you this almost hint of that Elsa ash white blonde. Now, you also do have the 9.5-11. This one has more of that Cendre color to it. So if your client didn't quite lift to a level 10, this color right here, 9.5-11, has extra smokiness to it. So it's going to give her truly that ash tone. Now, the other thing that we have that I'm so excited about is our new Blonde Me Glow toners. They look like this. They come in a box in a little tube. So this one here, the Blonde Me Glow toner, is a truly acidic toner. So this one sits underneath 7 on the pH scale. So just to give a little idea of this, so the pH scale is 1 through 15. If we're at 7, that is neutral. Anything lighter than that is going to be an alkaline base. Anything lower than that is acidic. An alkaline base is going to open up that hair cuticle and allow some of the color pigments to go into the hair strand while also putting some on the outside and still giving a smooth result. That is Vibrance. An acidic toner sits underneath a 7. And what makes our acidic toner unique is that this is truly acidic even before you add in the developer. So this one is already acidic even before the developer is added in. And so this is going to truly close down that hair cuticle and smooth that hair down while giving the pigment that you need. And that means if that hair is really damaged, this would be your best option because it's going to give you that nice, smooth, shiny end result. They're both going to give you smooth, shiny end results. Just you'll get a little bit more pigment weight in one versus the other. Now, another cool shade that you can use that is in our Blonde Me toner range is going to be the 9.5-2. It's either 2-1. There we go. 2-1. Here it is. It's called Steel Blue. So when we're looking at the swatch, you can see how cool this is. So again, ash can be different to different people. So how ashy do you want to go? This one is very ashy if it's on a pale blonde. If you only get her up to a level 8, it's just going to tone out the orange. So you have lots of different options. Again, you want to choose something with either a -1, which is Cendre or blue violet, or a -2, which is going to be also that blue or ash color. Those are the ones that are going to tone out and truly give you an ash result. So I hope that helped. If you have a specific client you want to talk about, again, skpedu.com. Next question. If I want more like silver colors, what would you use? Well, we just showed you a really amazing silver color. So this one, the one that we just showed you, that 9.5-21, if you put this on pre-lightened hair, you can already see it's got this nice silver tint to it. It's truly kind of that silver tone, but it's a little bit deeper. However, did you know that we have something called silver whites? Silver whites are shades that we have in Agora Real. They were brought out to be true tonal refiners for natural silver white hair. What that means is if my hair was white naturally, I could refine that silver. So my hair might be not shiny anymore. Maybe the ends are brittle and I just need a little extra shine. These can go ahead and add shine to natural silver white hair. But what if I'm trying to grow out my silver hair and I've colored my hair for years? So maybe I've got level 7 from here down and I'm all white here. How can I use this as an unnatural silver? You can pre-lighten those mids and ends. Try to get it to pale yellow, like inside of a banana peel yellow. Then I always recommend a pre-tone. That pre-tone could be a violet shampoo, a purple shampoo. We have our Blonde Me Cool Blonde shampoo that you could use, or we have our Goodbye Yellow. That could be your pre-tone. Or you could take our 9.5-1, which is our toner Cendre, or a 10-1 toner Cendre, create that white wall. I always compare creating silver to painting a wall. If I have a wall that's yellow and I just try to paint gray over top of it, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a nice murky moss looking wall, because guess what? There's usually blue in anything that's silver, and you put blue and yellow together, and what do you get? A beautiful green shade. So you always have to prime that wall to truly get the gray you're looking for and make it as white as possible. Hair is the same way. I need to lift that hair to pale yellow, like inside of a banana peel yellow first. Then you pre-tone. This gives two different successes. One success is that I've pre-toned, so it's an extra layer of color, and the other is longevity. So by doing the 2 layers of color, you're going to get more longevity with that silver. And then we have these 4 shades. So you've got slate gray, which is the deepest of the shades. Dove gray and gray lilac sit right in the middle. They're medium gray. Just one has got more of a blue violet, and then your silver. So the silver is going to be the lightest of these shades, and it can be intermixed with any of them. These are meant to be mixed with your 10-volume IGORA Real developer. And guess what, guys? It has that Pro-H complex in it. So those silyamines and collagen that we have in the absolutes to smooth that hair cuticle and fill in brittle sites, the hair is going to feel better after it's colored than it did before. So these act like a demi-permanent, and they truly are a silver tone. So on top of lots of toner options that have a -1, which is cendre, blue violet, or a -2, which is ash, those already can be silver, but we truly have silver whites that are silver tones. So hopefully you try those out. Go to your local distributor, get them today if you haven't tried them. I promise you're going to love them. I've created the most unnatural, multi-dimensional silver white hair that looks realistic with those many times. Our next question: for a 100% gray client, how could I achieve the foiled cashmere blonde? This is always a great question, right? So if you're looking for 100% gray coverage, if somebody's 100% gray, you have 2 options. First off, does your gray client want to see any of her natural color? Does she want some of the gray to be there? Or does she want 100% gray coverage? Because that's going to be what's going to determine it first. So I'm going to give 2 scenarios. Let's say your client wants 100% gray coverage, and she's 70 to 100% gray. I would start by coloring her hair first. I know it's an extra step, but then you're getting rid of all of her gray hair first. Then you can go and do the foiled cashmere technique. And when I come in here next time, I do have the taped version of what that looks like. So on our next Ask Me Anything, I'll have those as props so we can look at them. But what you would do is still do that same foiled cashmere technique after you've colored the hair. I know it's an extra step, but you'll ensure it. Now, the other option, if she just wants more of a blending, I used to have clients all the time that had silver hair and they just wanted highlights within it so that it gave them some dimension. We have in our blondie range what we call the lift and blend shades. These lift and blend have an interesting name because while they're called lift and blend, they truly give 100% gray coverage. So let me explain. If your client's level 6 or above, these shades are going to give you up to 4 levels of lift on the naturally pigmented hair and tone the white hair as in 100% gray coverage tone. And that gives you this beautiful multi-dimensional blonde. The reason we call it lift and blend is when you lift something, you're probably going to have slightly more warmth, whereas when you tone white hair, it's going to be a slightly different tone, which is why we call it multi-dimensional. It is still 100% gray coverage. So I love using these on my clients that have 100% white hair and just want to have that dimension of blonde in their hair. I will highlight their hair with these lift and blend shades. They are mixed with 30 or 40 volume Blonde Me developer, and they're going to process for 30 to 45 minutes. It's going to be 30 minutes for a finer hair texture and 45 minutes for a coarser hair texture. If they want 100% gray coverage, you could always start here. You could use this as their all over gray coverage color in a high lift. We don't have anything else like that in our IGORA Real, and most other companies don't even have something that in a high lift can still give you 100% gray coverage. So if you haven't yet, look for your lift and blend. It'll come in a tube that looks like this, but on the end, it will have a LB for lift and blend. So LB. So check those out if you haven't yet. They are phenomenal. So next question we have here, using IGORA Real -00 for gray coverage, do you use 30 volume? Will it also pull brassy covering gray? Love this question. -00 is that shade that we use when we're trying to get amazing gray coverage. So this is going to give you that 25% more pigment weight. I'll show you the swatch in our book here. So -00 are these swatches here. They give you that 25% more pigment weight, but they are in the natural. So one thing that I do want to point out with these is if we look on the color circle here, when we see -0 and -00, on the color circle, -0 sits right here. I know it's hard to see from back there, but if you go just a little bit this way, that's where -00 is. So it sits a little bit closer to that matte side. So it is slightly cooler and slightly deeper than just a -0. So with these, it's the same rule I talked about with the absolutes earlier. If the client is 90 to 100% white, we recommend 20 volume. It's the perfect amount. If your client is under 90% white, that's when you would use 30 volume. Now, your question here has more to do with, is it going to pull brassy? There's extra pigment weight here. In general, this is slightly more matte than a -0. Could it pull warm? Potentially, but it's not going to be super brassy. It might be more of a natural warm tone. But if you don't want to see that, did you know you can mix the -00 with any other color in the line? So if you're like, oh, I want to make sure that that color stays cool, I can mix my -00 with a 7-1, which is my cendre or a cooler tone, or I can mix it with any other shade that's cooler. As long as at least a third of my formula is -00, I will get that extra coverage, that 100% gray coverage. So I can have 1/3 of my formula as 7-00, and the rest of the formula can be something else. So tip, if you're using 7-00 in a formula like that, you don't need to worry about the 20-30 volume rule. So if I did say 30 grams of 7-1 and 20 grams of 7-00, so level 7 cendre and level 7 natural extra, I don't have to use 30 volume because I'm trying to get great coverage. I can just use 20 volume. So whenever you're mixing a -00 into a formula, 20 volume is your go-to gray coverage. It's only when you use these shades by themselves that if you're under 90% white, then you need to go to 30 volume. So I hope that helps. If it didn't, again, you have two different things you can do. One, go to skpedu.com, book your one-on-one appointment. Two, go to skpeducation.com and find an online class to learn more about it, and you can ask questions in that online free class as well. So our next question here, can you talk more about the additives? -88, -11, and -33. Absolutely. I love talking about our additives because they are phenomenal. All right, so in our additives, as you called them, they're actually boosters and neutralizers. And the reason they've got different names like that is a booster is meant to boost your color. So this, you can add 50% of your formula with a booster and added developer in a 1-to-1 ratio to any color formula. So up to half of your formula. Your neutralizers are called neutralizers because they are truly neutralizing out unwanted warmth. So you specifically asked for 0-88. So we're going to start with that one. So 0-88 is going to be my red extra. I love using this when I'm creating rose gold. How many of us out there have tried to get a nice little toner that has a rose gold? I love putting just a couple drops of 0-88. I like to think of it as if I've already got a toner, especially like a -1, for instance, which is that cendre, that blue violet. Think of that like a glass of milk. If I put just a little bit of red food dye in a glass of milk, it gives that little pinkiness. If I put even in a glass of water, just a 1 or 2 food color drops into a glass of water, it's more of a pinky than it is red. So this 0-88 can actually give you that. The other way I can use this, say I've got somebody who wants a really intense red. I've got a 7-88 in my Vibrance, but that's as light as it goes. I want something even more punchy. I can add up to half of my formula with 0-88 and added developer. So for instance, I could do 20 grams of 7-88, level 7 red extra, with 20 grams of 0-88, your red booster. 20 and 20 is 40. So it would be 40 grams of either my 6 volume or 13 volume, and you could choose gel or lotion for that. For most maximum vibrancy, 13 volume if you're in Vibrance. If you're using this in IGORA Riel, what I will tell you is adding the booster in will dilute your gray coverage. So if you're going to use a booster, don't use it on the regrowth if there's gray hair, but use it on those mid-lengths and ends. So let's talk about the other two that you asked about, which is the 0-11 and 0-33. So 0-11, I probably use the most. It is that cendre, that soft pearl tone, and it can be added into a color to help neutralize out unwanted yellow orange. So especially if you're in a level 8 or above, and you know that hair is going to pull really warm and you're creating lift, you can add 0-11 into the formula. Now your rules on 0-11, if you're at a level 8 or above, you only want to use up to 5% of your color formula with your 0-11 and add a developer if you don't want to see this color. So only 5% in a level 8 or above. Now, if you're in a level 5 or 6 to 7 and you need to neutralize orange, that's where 0-22 comes in. And as a neutralizer, up to 15% of your formula can be 0-22 if you don't want to see the blue. So going down to 0-33, which is the other one you asked about, this is our matte or our green. I love using this whenever I'm creating lift in IGORA Riel for any brunette. How many times have you lifted a brunette's hair and it's so brassy, so warm? So if you add this green, the 0-33, this is going to neutralize out red. So this green is going to neutralize out red. You can add it into your color formula to help neutralize out. So for instance, if you're in a level 4 or below, you can actually mix up to 25% of your color formula. So if I wanted a really neutral blonde, or not blonde, really neutral brunette, I could choose one of my cooler tones here in IGORA Riel, and maybe I want to lift her. Say I want to lift her all the way up to a level 5. I don't mind this 5-16. It's a cendre chocolate, but it might be too warm for my client. I can take this 5-16 and add up to a quarter of my formula with 4-33. So maybe I do, 40 grams of my 5-16, and maybe I only do 10 grams of my 0-33. 40 plus 10 is going to be 50. So it'd be 50 grams of your IGORA Riel developer. So I use 0-33 most of the time when I want to create lift on my brunettes because it cancels out warmth. Now, if you do want forest green hair, you can do that with it too. If you add more than the recommended amount to your formula, or if you were to use this by itself with developer on a blonde swatch, it will be green. But that's not what it was brought out for. So hopefully that helps answer your boosters and neutralizers question. If you have more questions on that, again, skpedu.com is an excellent source. So next one. My blondes always want cool tones, don't they all? Especially here in the United States. And what happens is they go home, they go under a warm light, and they're like, it's brassy, even though in a cooler light it's not, or outside. So yes, my blondes always want cool tones, but I tend to go warm, and I would like a level 9. What can I use to make it a cool blonde? Now, when you're saying blonde, if you're trying to lift somebody to a level 9, that's where the struggle is real. If you're trying to lift somebody from, say, a level 6 or 7 all the way up to a 9, it's really hard to get that cool blonde. So let's first talk about options of colors that you have. If you're lifting somebody from, say, a level 6 or 7 all the way up to a level 9, the first thing you have to know is, first of all, do they have gray hair? Because if they have gray hair, you're going to have to add something from this first page, naturals, into your color formula. If they don't have gray hair, I wouldn't even add a natural in. I would stick to all of your cooler tones. So on this page are your cendres and cooler tones, minus our gray finding swatch. So in your cooler tones, my best option, there's two that I like to use. If when you say warmth, you're thinking, I see a lot of yellow, this 9-19, it's a level 9 and it's a cendre violet. That violet kicks out unwanted yellow. So if you're seeing a lot of yellow, this could be an excellent one to use to lift somebody. Now, another one that we have that I think even has a cooler tone to it is this 9-11, level 9 cendre extra. If you're creating lift with this and you find that that's not enough tone for you, we were just talking about some excellent options to add into it. If your client does not have gray hair and gray coverage is not the scenario, you're just trying to create lift, you can add 0-11 into that formula. So for instance, if I'm doing 9-11 and I really want to cool off that hair, I can add in just a little bit of my 0-11 to that formula to help keep it cool. So hopefully that helps on that end. Now, if you've pre-lightened the hair and you're looking for a cool tone, we have a ton of toner options in our Vibrance book. And so you can use any of those vibrance options that we have, or our Blonde Me options that we talked about earlier today. So I feel like, though, if you're getting a lot of warmth, you're probably trying to create a cool blonde while lifting. So that is why I focused on that. But if you have a different question that you wanted answered, again, go to skpedu.com and talk to an Ask Expert there. So next question we have here. I am new to Schwarzkopf. How do I achieve strawberry blonde in an 8 level? My client is totally gray. Amazing. So when you're trying to create a strawberry blonde, we do have a few different options. Now, when you're talking strawberry blonde, you're saying in a level 8. So I'm slightly deeper than a level 8, but you can see this is a really beautiful strawberry blonde. What I will tell you is our coppers are gorgeous. And so when we're looking at our coppers here, I can tell you right now, by itself, I know you're talking about gray. You'll have to mix it for gray coverage, but one of my favorite tones is 9-7. It's a level 9 copper. What I will tell you, being new to Schwarzkopf, if there's one number after the dash, it means that it's just one copper tone. If it's copper extra, that means it's 2 copper tones. That means it's copper extra. It's intense. So for somebody who wants more of a strawberry blonde, a natural copper is going to be best. So 9-7, but I always love to mix a warm in with that. So I like to take 9-55, which is level 9 gold extra, and mix this into my 9-7. However, you're talking about gray coverage. So if you've got somebody who is totally gray, guess what? We have those absolutes options. And because you're new to the brand, I feel like this could be an option for you as well. This one's not going to be so much that strawberry blonde, but here's what I will tell you. This is a 9-60, level 9 chocolate natural. That chocolate is going to give you that richness. Our chocolate is almost like a cinnamon tone. So it gives you that bit of warmth already. And I know you want to be at a level 9, but you could add just a tiny bit of 7-70, level 7 copper natural. So if you took 9-60, level 9 chocolate natural, and put in just a few grams even of that 7-70, this is going to have that 30% more pigment weight to give you that gray coverage. But if you want to just, you're like, you know what? No, I don't want to add anything darker. Then what I would recommend is take that 9-7 that we were talking about and mix it with 9-4. What I will tell you is that on the bottom of the swatch, you can see this swatch says 100%. What that means is it's 100% gray coverage. So anything that's a -4, which is beige, muted gold, will give you 100% gray coverage. So for you, for gray, I would say one really amazing option would be to take that 9-7 that we were just talking about that I can't seem to find, that level 9 copper, and mixing that with a 9-4 to really truly give you that beautiful strawberry blonde tone. Now, again, because you are new to the brand and this is a specific client that you're asking this question about, I highly recommend you go ahead and book your one-on-one appointment with an Ask Expert at skpedu.com, and you can really talk about how much gray that client has, whether it's coarse hair, fine hair, because those all can change how you would formula, but there are a few options for you. Another helpful hint, whenever I'm trying a new color on somebody, I like to do a test patch first. So maybe I use their old formula everywhere else, but I try something new in a patch on the back so I can see how it turns out. So use that tip if you ever want to just see. So next question, I've been using IGORA Vibrance for years, and I've noticed that -0 and -00 are warmer than they used to be. I checked client cards and old pictures. How can I formulate for a more neutral, cool result? Well, first of all, I'm sorry that you feel as though you've been experiencing more warmth. We haven't changed our formula, but that doesn't mean you're not experiencing that. It could just be a warmer climate zone. Maybe it has to be the heat of their scalp. Different things can cause warmth. So your question is, how can I get rid of that warmth? Now, what I would say is use -1 instead. So what I love about our Cendre, the -1, is it gives you 100% gray coverage. So if you were using 9-0 before, you could use 9-1, that Cendre. It's going to get rid of any of that brassiness, but still give you that 100% gray coverage. Now, if you were wanting to use the -00, you're like, I still need that extra gray coverage. You could mix a -1 into your -00. So instead of just using we'll just use 9-00 for instance. If you were using 9-00 before as on its own for gray coverage, maybe half of your formula is 9-00 and the other half of the formula is 9-1, which is Cendré or that blue violet end result. So try that out, mix in a Cendré in your formula or use Cendré instead of natural, and that should give you a cooler result. And again, I'm sorry that you're experiencing that. The other thing I would recommend, whenever you're experiencing something like that, where you're like, this didn't used to be warm and now it is on every client, call our support line or email us or DM us on Schwarzkopf and we'll get you to somebody who can help you. Because if we don't know about it, we can't do anything about it. Sometimes it's about the batch number. So on the back of any box of color, there is a scan code and on it is a batch number. So that batch number is something that you can take a picture of and send to us. And then we can look into it because maybe it's a certain batch of color that happens to be different. And we don't know if we haven't tried it and used it. So I highly recommend call our support line, DM us on Instagram or Facebook, and we can look into it for you. I promise. All right. So next question we have, we're running out of time. We've only got a couple more left. We've got 4 minutes left, guys. All right. So let's see. I have friends in Canada who rave about Session Label. Is that the same as OSIS in the US? Love this question as well. Guess what? Different countries have different rules on what you can have. So unfortunately, we do not have OSIS Session Label in the United States. But what I will tell you is all of the OSIS products we have in the US are amazing. And we have to go by certain rules, especially when it comes to aerosols. The rules are different in every country in how you have to make an aerosol. So you might even use volume up here, and it might be slightly different than the volume up that you use in Canada. So just know that every country is different, and it's not because we want to make things confusing for you. It's just that the laws are different in each country. So the OSIS here is going to be different than an OSIS there, but I will tell you, I love every single texture product, every single hairspray, everything in OSIS is my go-to for styling my hair. Today, I even used in my hair our elastic hairspray to set my curls. And then my favorite product is our OSIS Volume Up. It comes out like a hairspray and helps me really define this front piece and gives me more volume to my hair. I love using it on the root to help give me more lift. So no, it's not going to be the same in the US, but we have some phenomenal products. So thank you for that question. The next question we have, how did IGORA come up with 9,5 series? My coworker read it as 9 light blonde, 5 light brown. So confusing. You know what? You're not the first person to say this. So when she says 9.5, I'm going to first say we're going to call it 9.5 in the US, but it's printed on our boxes as 9,5. The only difference there is that in Germany, it's comma. In the US, it's point. How did they come up with it? Who knows? I think they just wanted you to know it was lighter than a level 9, but they decided not to call it a level 10. And I don't know the reasoning behind it, but just know it means it's truly a translucent pigment weight meant to be a toner on a level 9 or above. So how they came up with that, I might find out later and let you know, but that's just what they chose to call it. So it's all good. And it is, I know it's comma 5, but anything after a dash is the tonal direction. So bear that in mind. 9.5 or 9,5 is just the level. It's meant to be a toner. And then any number after the dash is its color direction. So last question we have here. What high lift color can you lift on a level 4 without bleach? Don't we all want to know? Okay, so here's what I'm going to say to you. Anything in a blue box is a high lift that's meant for a level 6 or above. If you use that on a level 4, it's still going to create lift, but it's going to be more caramel. It's going to be warmer. We've used it on models before that are lower levels, and if they have virgin hair, you can still get lift with this, but it's not going to lift through previously colored hair. That is when you would want to move into our fashion lights. Our fashion lights give you that up to 5 levels of lift and tone in one step, even on previously colored hair. But these can only be highlighted in. They're not meant to be an all over color. But this is what I would recommend if your client is the level 4 and you want to create up to 5 levels of lift and tone in one step. And the L-00 or the L-44, so your natural or your beige extra, are the ones I'd recommend for you, and utilize 40 volume to get the maximum results. Using this in a foil is always going to give you more lift than letting it be in open air. So you try out the fashion lights. I promise they're going to give you an excellent lift. If you do use high lift for a level 4, just know it's going to be warmer. The tonal quality in here isn't enough to tone out at those darker levels. That is all the time I have for questions, but I just want to recap that you can go and ask questions also at skpedu.com to book a one-on-one appointment with an Ask Expert. Don't forget foiled cashmere. You can become certified in all 3 aspects: 4x4 foiling, the bespoke layer technique, and also the 90s blowout. Get certified online for free at skpeducation.com and find all of our free online classes that you can take on that site as well. All of our education is listed there. And hey, you want a hands-on class? Check out skpeducation.com as well, because all of our in-person classes that we're selling tickets for across the US of foiled cashmere are also up on that site. So any education you can look for, skpeducation.com. Don't forget to join us in 3 weeks from today at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you all so much for your questions. Start thinking of more for next time, and we'll see you later.
Mm-hmm.